You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hello, everybody out there. Happy New Year. Happy New Decade. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
What's up?
What is it? We're, let's see. It's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
God.
The future.
Yeah. If we're still here when this comes out.
Yes. We don't know.
I saw a lot of people were doing like best whatevers of the decade. I was like, hey, this might be our last chance to do that. So I said,
best pop culture of the last decade.
Exactly. So
yes, because I Googled trying to come up with my own list. I Googled best of the decade, and Rolling Stone, Vulture, IGN, like every website was doing best of everything for the decade.
I heard a podcaster, but I hadn't seen all those.
Oh, I assume we're the only podcast doing it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, let's do some movies and TV. So this episode is each of our top 10 movies of the past decade.
So, decade being 2010
through 2019. The teens.
How hard was this for you, Cliff?
How hard was it?
Because we are not really list makers.
Yeah,
we
so
are
much.
not really rankers and chroniclers of our consumption.
I would say this, let me answer for him. If you were to guess what was on his list, you would get all of them.
Yeah. No big surprises.
There is absolutely no surprises on this list.
Yeah, so I kind of threw this together this afternoon.
Don't admit that.
I had a couple weeks to come up with it, but I waited till the last minute. But I mean, not that it really would have.
Pretty similar to what I would.
So did you make any rules for yourself or criteria?
No.
Like it had to be, you had to have rewatched it? Or,
Nope.
Nope.
We usually,
I'm trying to give you like line here.
Yeah, we usually don't all use the same criteria, which is totally fine. I will say that I could have easily just referenced my top 100 I put out this year and went in order from the one, but I didn't. I mean, obviously there will be a lot of those movies, but I didn't really use the same order. And that, maybe some I think represented the decade a little differly.
Because it's a very fluid thing what you're enjoying at that moment. Yeah, right. I found it pretty tough. My list, my kind of thought going into it was, if I made this a week from now, it'd be different. So I'm not being precious with it.
No, lists change all the time. We could go back and look at any of our lists, and we would move them around.
Yeah,
so.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, one of the movies was my top from 2018 or 2017. Like, was in my honorable mentions. That was my number one movie of that year. Didn't make my top 10. So, my thought, I wanted to pick movies, not necessarily the movies I watch over and over again. A lot of these I've only seen once, but I tried to pick the 10 movies that made me feel something, that did something to me, made me want to talk about, made me want to like, wow, that really, either mess with my head or made me think something new or want to dive in and learn something new. So a movie that affected me, not just a movie that I enjoyed or was fun. I wanted to try to pick the ones that actually impacted.
Yeah, I kind of perused the box office numbers from each year, just with the idea, I guess, of what, I want to try and represent a little of each year, like what was really popular, because that's generally what I go for. I don't see a lot of movies that aren't, and I don't see a lot of movies in the theater that are not a Disney movie, a Star Wars movie, a Marvel movie, which are all kind of the same thing now. So
And mine, I just put them on my list chronologically. And I was like, I don't know how to do these 1 through 10, so I just left them chronologically. They're 10 to 1 from the earliest to the most recent, and it works for me. I don't know what I would move around the list if I was trying to do a real 10 to 1. So my top 10 is, and there's an asterisk there. There's no particular order, really.
All right.
Which is maybe against the rules, but
whatever. We're fine. All right, so let's rock, paper, scissors for who we're starting with. All right, let's try it again.
We do 1, 2, 3, then do it.
We can't even
1,
count.
2, and then
1, 2, 3, boom. Okay. Start with me. We don't know how.
Seth threw scissors. Yeah. Jordan and Cliff both threw paper.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna start it off. My number 10 at this moment for the past decade. I feel it had to be on there, even if it squeaks in the last spot. It started off the decade and was just a huge movie, The Social Network.
I need to do something substantial in order to get the attention of the clubs.
Why?
Because they're exclusive and fun, and they lead to a better life. People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that friends, pictures, profiles? I'm talking about taking the entire social experience of college and putting it online.
The site got 2,200 hits within 2 hours.
22,000.
This idea is potentially worth millions of dollars.
Millions? You stole our website.
They're saying we stole the Facebook. I know what it said.
So did we?
The perspective has changed so much in these 10 years.
I would definitely like to watch it again.
Yeah.
Knowing now what I didn't know then.
Right. But it still probably, shows a spoiled guy, genius starting up a big mess, basically. But anyway, I love the movie. I still love it. David Fincher is one of my favorite directors. Has a Trent Reznor soundtrack that's haunting and one of the best soundtracks ever. And I love the look of it. I love everything about it. It's a great movie. Aaron Sorkin script, so it's it's got its good points and bad points, and probably isn't totally realistic, but I love it. Is this a movie you look fondly at?
I remember liking it when I saw it. Maybe not as much because it was a big award winner or award contender at least. But I remember thinking, that was good. But yeah, we definitely know more nowadays about Facebook and what it would become.
Yeah, I think this movie will lose some of its luster because of the recent years, but I still love it.
Yeah, I always liked it. I mean, it used to be on TV a lot at the time.
Yeah.
So.
I think Jesse Eisenberg is amazing in it. A couple of the speeches and retorts he has, just so the definition of smug. And it's very good performance.
I don't know that he's been better in anything since then.
No, he does a lot of good. I mean, he's really good in some things, but that's probably his best.
That's the one comment I saw about it was the only character Jesse Eisenberg is more handsome than the character he's playing.
So, Cliff, what was your number 10?
Number 10 is 2015. It's a Pixar movie, Inside Out.
I'm joy. This is sadness. That's anger.
What?
This is disgust. And that's fear. We're Riley's emotions. These are Riley's memories. They're mostly happy, you'll notice, not to brag.
I wanted to maybe hold one.
What happened? Sadness?
She did something to the memory.
Is everything okay? I don't know.
Take it back, Joey.
Trying.
Joy, no,
Let's
wait.
go.
The core memories.
No.
Can I say that curse word now?
Movie I saw in the theater at the time when it came out with the family. And I did just recently watch this actually on Disney Plus. I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago actually. It's directed by Pete Docter, who has went on to become, he took over for Pixar. So yeah, it's a movie about a little girl named Riley growing up that moves to California from Minnesota, and she likes hockey, and all the different emotions in her head, which I thought was a not the most original concept, but I really liked how it was executed. And I love the cast: Mindy Kaling, Amy Poehler, Phyllis Smith. It's got Bill Hader in it, and Lewis Black plays Angry. And it was just it's one of those films we really liked as a family. The whole experience. My wife has a T-shirt she loves. It says "Today was a core memory day," and it has the little memory globes on it that she wears on when we go to Walt Disney World a lot.
I love the idea of that, core memories and things that can be just something so small, but you remember it forever. And
also Bing Bong. So
Richard Kind.
Yeah, Richard Kind. So it's not one that I don't think when you say Pixar, most people immediately think of. You have Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., all that stuff. But this one is, I think it's one of their stronger movies, just as a whole. So,
it's absolutely, it's probably one of my favorites. The whole idea of it is so good, as far as like letting your kids grow up, letting them not be sheltered into thinking, having to be happy all the time.
Right.
At some point, letting them,
or like
have a mixture of emotions, or find out that sometimes you're gonna be sad.
Right.
And that's okay. And you're gonna learn from that.
That's how we grow.
And I've heard it in the years since, it's kind of grown with its support from educators and like psychologists and things, that it helps kids, like they don't have concepts for this stuff.
No, so it does. It can really help somebody understand what's
kids
going
with,
on.
Emotional problems. You can say like, "Oh, that's anger." Like it makes it more concrete what they're feeling.
It's a good one. What's your number 10 there?
My number 10 is from 2010, but I only saw it for the first time last year, which is my own fault because it's great. Boy from Taika Waititi.
Kia ora, my name is Boy, and welcome to my interesting world. My favourite person is Michael Jackson. Want to see some Michael Jackson dance moves? My favourite subjects are art, social studies.
I'll kick both your nuts off, and you'll have none.
And Michael Jackson. I have a 6-year-old brother called Rocky. He's got powers.
Hey, boy.
Sure, boy.
Hey, boy. Thank you, boy.
I'm named after my dad. He's overseas doing some pretty important stuff.
Oh, man, you're a liar. Your dad's in jail for robbery.
People call me a dumb honky all the time. I don't go around punching them out.
Why not?
Because they're usually children.
One of our favorites.
Insert drop here.
I believe it's his second film, if I'm correct. So yeah, he's gone on to fame with Marvel, of course, but he's from New Zealand. He worked on Flight of the Conchords on HBO, one of my favorite sitcoms. He did the movie Eagle vs. Shark, What We Do in the Shadows, and Hunt for the Wilder People came out a couple years after this, and it had bigger name stars, and it got a lot of acclaim, and people were talking about it. It was on a bunch of top 10 lists, but to me, I thought Boy was even stronger than that, even though Hunt for the Wilder People was very good and had some of the same themes. This one just blew me away. So it's set in the 80s. It's a coming-of-age story, and it's this young boy living in New Zealand in this Maori. I can never say that. The New Zealand native Maori.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like, you see the face paint and the tribal stuff, but you never see the, like, just day-to-day. They just, live on an island and go grocery shop. Yeah, so it's a look at a different culture that's a little bit different than ours, but not so different. And his dad leaves him. The dad played by Taika Waititi. And so he invents all these stories. He's gone away. He's training to be a samurai.
Right.
He's a secret agent. And it's sort of that, like, being a kid, not letting real life get you down. And he's wanted his dad to come home his whole life. And he finally does. And the dad's not, he's no great shakes. He's not responsible. He's just as, goofy as the kid is. So, just has a lot of great dry humor that Taika Waititi is amazing at doing, and some really touching scenes, and that idea of growing up and losing your illusions of what adulthood is, and what responsibilities are, and a great performance from the young kid James Rolston, and just a really terrific film.
All right, that's our 10s. Let's go to our number 9s. And this time we'll start with you, Cliff.
Okay, big surprise here. Number 9, Marvel's Avengers. The first big team-up movie. This was the Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, and Jeremy Renner the first time they assembled, directed by Joss Whedon, of course. This was like the biggest movie of all time to start the decade out. So I've seen it multiple times, saw it a couple times in theaters. It's great. I saw it in IMAX in Columbus. And, it's one of those movies that, hey, if I'm flipping around the dial and I land on FX and that sucker's on, I'm probably going to sit there and watch the movie or at least part of it for a little bit. So
it's so funny to hear people talk about this movie that didn't grow up reading the comics. They're so in awe, which I am too, that they pulled it off, but they're so in awe that you could have all these separate stories of these characters that are so fleshed out, and then that you could bring them together and have them fit together into a bigger story and not have it be an awkward mess. And it's like, yeah, that's what the comics were. Look, it can be done. And it's just funny to hear people like, that's one of the things they're most impressed by. I'm like, we expected that to work.
Right. Yeah. This was the one we were all anticipating as soon as it was announced that they were actually going to tackle it.
Because we'd seen it all our lives. Like, yeah, they could all team up and have an adventure. It's like, no, that's impossible. Yeah, I don't know that we still have enough distance from it to admire how insane it is that it's, or how much it changed movie going and blockbuster cinema. Like, I think we're still, years from now, we'll still look at that as some kind of pinnacle.
All right, Jordan.
My number 9 from 2011, Attack the Block. Director Joe Cornish, first film, British movie. John Boyega, his first role. Had Nick Frost from Shaun of the Dead, those movies. And Jodie Whittaker, who's the new Doctor Who. So it was a star-making performance for at least a couple of those people. I'd seen previews for this movie and heard what it was about, and it got some good buzz and some acclaim. But when I first watched it, it blew me away. As it's an alien invasion movie in South London. It's a bunch of street hoodlums, and then aliens attack. And it's like no one's coming to help them. So they have to protect their home, and no one else is going to do it for them. So they're kind of like unlikable protagonists. That when the movie opens, they're robbing from people, and they're not good kids. But the longer you stay with them, you see what kind of lives they lead and how hard they have it. And it's just a great action sci-fi adventure. The effects are wonderful. There's a lot of physical effects, like the monsters look really cool. But there's something deeper there, talking about society and class differences and, how we come together as a society when the chips are down. And just like I said, star-making performance from John Boyega. He just, as a young kid, just had so much charisma and just carried this movie. So I loved the action and the sci-fi-ness of it, but I also loved the deeper meaning it had behind it.
Cool. My number 9 is La La Land from 2016. It was Best Picture for 2 minutes. And I don't know, I never even would have thought of myself as somebody that really liked musicals, but this one hit me. I love all the songs in it. I love those two actors together, Ryan Gosling and, gosh, what's her name? Emma Stone. Yes, Damien Chazelle. That it was great. It's gorgeous. It's just, and the ending's fantastic. That's the biggest thing to me. I love the ending, and it's just a combination of the music and it's funny. It's just a good feeling movie, and I love it. So it's on here.
You're so defensive about La La Land.
I know, because
we're gonna rip it for no real good reason.
No, and I don't.
It doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. It's just that he likes a musical, so I'm gonna rub it in.
Cliff's favorite movie is a musical.
Yeah, I love musicals.
Okay, just clearing that up. All right, number 8. This time it's Jordan.
Number 8 is. There's a lot of horror on my list, which was very odd for me because I'm not a big horror fan. But my number 8 is The Babadook.
Where'd you get this?
On the shelf.
If it's in a word or it's in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. A rumbling sound, then 3 sharp knocks.
Babadook, dook, dook.
That's when you'll know he's around. You'll see him if you look. Nothing bad's gonna happen, Sam.
Did you think that about my dad before he died?
He sees things as they are, that one.
I promised to protect you if you promised to protect me.
Oh my God. Did he hurt anyone?
The boy has significant behavioral problems.
This monster thing has got to stop, all right? It's just a book. It can't hurt you.
Which I'm getting over cold. I sound like the Babadook at the moment.
I remember talking about this movie way back in 2014, 2015.
It came out 2014.
And I don't think I'd ever heard of it until it was on our Halloween list.
I think, it had just come out. It was still in theaters, I think.
Yeah.
And people were so raving about it. Yeah, none of us had seen it at that point.
Newsflash, still haven't seen it.
I saw it,
and I wasn't in a hurry to see it. I said I'm not a horror buff, but when I finally did see it, talking about a movie like I wanted to talk to people about, a movie I wanted to think about, and like, hey, have you seen this? Did you get from it what I got from it? Like it hit me in such a way. And I'm not a parent, but I would think if you are a parent, it would hit you even more viscerally, especially a single mother, which is the film. Essie Davis plays the mom, Amelia, to the young boy Samuel, Noah Wiseman. And it's never explicitly stated, but he has some, developmental problems.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's autistic or on the spectrum somewhere. It's never explained that he's not, a typical child, but there's some problem that she's been dealing with. And it takes that idea and turns it into psychological horror of, raising a special needs child is the hardest thing in the world, I would imagine. And this movie cranks up the tension, and she never gets any sleep, and there's no one there to help her. And it's just, the walls are closing in on her. And it's that idea, every parent I've ever talked to says, I love my children, I would die for my child, but there's times I want to throw them off a bridge. Like, you want to murder your children at times, but you also would do anything for them. So it's that dichotomy of like parenthood and the horror of not being able to protect that kid, sometimes even from yourself. So it's this idea of grief, and a lot of people didn't like, because the ending wasn't real concrete. There weren't a whole lot of answers. The ending was actually kind of odd. But I love the ending. I won't give it away in case you haven't seen it. But it's all about grief, and you can't deny it. The grief is there. And the grief, if something bad happens to you, it will always be with you. You just have to deal with it. And it's not locking things away and ignoring them, but it is, facing them and dealing with it. So this movie, like no other horror movie ever, affected me and made me think about it. I still think about it when I think of some of these issues.
Sidebar. Have you watched there's a Pixar I believe it's Pixar. Pixar short out there called Float.
No.
It's wonderful. It's about a parent of a boy that's, has autism or something going on there. And it's just wonderfully done. You don't quite get what's happening there for a little bit, but it's wonderful. So got major acclaim, but just reminded me of that when you were talking.
And the Babadook has taken on a second life as an LGBT icon. Through some very strange circumstances, it has become a meme and a rallying cry, gay pride parades and things. And there's some, you can read that into it too, of like, something closeted inside you that you're fighting against, or you might, you can't let your family know certain things about you. So yeah, it's taken on a second life that the director didn't intend, but has meant more to some people.
My number 8 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
My name's Miles Morales.
Hey, kid. You're like me. How?
I knew my day would come around this time.
I know it's complicated.
Just had to keep my soul and free my mind.
You want to know what happened to you? I can teach you to be Spider-Man. I love this burger. It's so delicious. One of the best burgers I've ever had. You have money, right? I'm not very liquid right now.
I think you're going to be a bad teacher.
I was surprised. I saw this on some lists today.
I was not surprised to see it on my list. I loved it. It's one of the best movies last year. It's just great. Gorgeous animation, whether you some people like it, some people don't. Not for everybody. But it's awesome, and it's focused on Miles Morales and a bunch of different Spider-Men in this, coming together in this crossover universe, and I just think it's gorgeous. Again, great soundtrack, score, and really has some really emotional moments, and just was a really great time. And I don't normally lean towards animated movies, but this one just...
And I think this one came out just at the right time for it, too. Like, it was right... Marvel was really tracking pretty hard right then. Everybody, with Infinity War and Endgame and Captain Marvel and all that stuff. So it really kind of, I think, touched a nerve with a lot of people because they were hyped up for Marvel.
On the Onion's Best of the Decade list, they said this was the top of the 7 Spider-Man movie that came out that year. Mm-hmm. It was the number 1.
Yeah. The whole concept of anyone can wear the mask was, great.
If you had told me a cartoon would be able to, have that kind of emotion and that kind of impact, I'm not sure I believe you, but this one definitely did.
Cliff, your number 8 is on both of our lists higher.
Oh, okay.
So, number 7 is me. My number 7 is higher on Jordan's list, even though it's only chronologically higher, I guess. So, Cliff, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is Star Wars. Surprise.
But
it may sound familiar.
Guessing which one?
The Rise of Skywalker. Oh. So, not a lot to be said about this. We just talked about this movie.
Is there anything we didn't cover in 2.5 hours?
Right, yeah. Refer to that a couple episodes ago. But
you've had some time to think about it. You've had some time to reflect on it.
Yeah.
You had a whole week.
I had a whole week. And it's interesting. I've heard from a few people that I did not think this movie would be as high for them as it was. And I was really surprised. Like I was having a conversation last night with my cousin, and he went and saw it a couple times already. And he was telling me that his son had asked him the question the other day just about which franchise he liked better, Harry Potter or Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Now his son, Colton's at the age where he grew up with Harry Potter. I mean, Star Wars was always around too, but Harry Potter was a major thing for his age group.
That's for everybody. It's kind of a major thing. Maybe did you never read Harry Potter?
I've never seen a single movie.
Yeah.
Well, the books are where it's at. The movies are fine, but the books are where it's at.
But I was really surprised. He told me he was telling me how much he really couldn't compare Harry Potter to Star Wars. And of course, Jamie's older. He's a little older than I am, and would have been at that perfect age in '77 when the first one appeared or happened upon the world. But I was surprised because he's a big Harry Potter. And he really loves Harry Potter, and I know they watch those movies a lot in rotation. But he was just telling me how much he loved Skywalker and the way it wrapped everything up and ended everything. He was just amazed with the whole thing. So I've been a little surprised by some of the reaction, how positive it has been.
Yeah.
Because my initial viewing, I wasn't sure that people were really going to like it. So
I agree. It's hard to tell what people are going to like nowadays. Okay, Jordan, what's your number 7?
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, 2014.
So that's the second one.
Second one. The original Planet of the Apes.
Too
firmly,
much James Franco.
Firmly in my top 10.
Oh, the original.
The original Charlton Heston one. I love the goofy sequels as well, but the original might be number 1 in my top 10 if I ever get around to doing that. So I was not hyped for a reboot or a remake. Like, okay, I'll go watch it. But that first one, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was good. I enjoyed it, despite the Franco-ness. The Andy Serkis as Caesar the ape, the effects were terrific. So I thought, wow, okay, they took an old story, put a new spin on it. It was updated and timely. Cool, good for them. And then they went and made this one that was just worlds better than the first one. So it's set 10 years after. The mutation that caused the apes to become intelligent has basically taken over. Humans are on their way out, and this is kind of the apocalypse is happening right now. And Caesar is caught between the two worlds. He grew up, with the human family, so he doesn't want this war, but there are apes around him that do, and any human, is very distrustful of the apes. So it's that sort of war film. I don't want to say Romeo and Juliet, but yeah, it's an ape caught between two worlds, which sounds ridiculous as I say it, but it works so well. Andy Serkis deserved an Oscar nomination. His performance was terrific. Just the emotion he was able to get through his eyes, and just the quiver of his lips and things. Just a terrific performance, flawless special effects, and just an exciting movie. Jason Clarke, Gary Oldman, Kerry Russell, lots of great actors as well. So, I love these apes.
Okay. Love them, they're apes. All right. Okay, so Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's your turn. Yeah, you're
6.
Yep.
Number 6. Sticking with my Star Wars theme. Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
The world is coming undone. Imperial flags reign across the galaxy.
Can you be trusted without your shackles?
Let's just get this over with, shall we? We've a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent. We need to know how to destroy it.
If you're really doing this, I want to help.
Good.
This was... I don't know. I don't even remember what year this even came out. What year was this? This was
2016 or 17.
2016.
16,
yeah. 2016. This was the prequel to A New Hope. It's just the feel of the movie, the look. It was the first live action experience that really I watched it and I went, that's Star Wars again. Since the original trilogy, the prequels they did not cut it for me. And then this little miracle came along, which, there's a whole
Even more that you had seen Force Awakens by then, and you didn't think it felt
had
like
I?
Star Wars? Yeah.
No, Force Awakens is fine, but Force Awakens doesn't have that old school feel to it the way this movie does. To me,
this is gritty. It
is.
I like it. I was saying the other day that I rewatched it recently and liked it a ton better than the first time.
It had a lot of problems in production, with the story and doing reshoots and recuts, and we're not real sure after seeing the original trailer. A lot of that stuff we never ended up seeing, and appeared there were perhaps a different story at the time. So they did a bunch of reshoots and changed the story up. But what we got, if nothing else, was one badass Darth Vader scene to end that movie that I don't think he has a better... that character has a better sequence, a moment in even the original series, the trilogy, than Darth Vader does at the end of Rogue One when he's trying to get those plans for the Death Star and he is just tearing through Rebels. I love it.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, I just rewatched this one a couple weeks ago, and I think I was maybe unfairly critical of it when it came out. I remember liking it, but thinking, it's not part of the core.
Yeah,
it's just it's an offshoot. But and then we get Solo. It's something to compare it to. It's like, oh, it's way better than Solo. Yeah. Fake praise. But so I totally get that it feels. From every piece of costume and prop, it looks like it's straight out of '77.
It really does.
The attention to detail was phenomenal.
Yeah, this was Gareth Edwards, right?
Yeah,
was the director on this.
The number one thing for me for that movie is K2SO. That's like the best
Alan Tudyk
performance we've ever got. Everything that character says is hilarious. Everything it does is hilarious. I mean, I was just. I wanted more of it. Everything he did was funny in that.
To me, its main drawback is the characters. They're not the most memorable, lovable characters. They're just sort of types. But Jen Erso did when she escaped that truck. She wanged two guys with a shovel.
So. There you go. It's got to be up there.
It's going on my list.
See where that got her. Okay. Jordan?
Oh, my next one is from 2016, Hell or High Water. So this is the director's David Mackenzie, which I'm not real familiar with. I can't tell you anything else he's did. Written by Taylor Sheridan, who's gone on to do a whole bunch of good stuff, including that show we like?
Jellystone.
Yellowdale, that's right.
Yellowstone
at the moment.
Yeah, he did Wind River, and what was the one before those? There was something before both of those. But
yeah, it was good, whatever it was.
He's great. I like them all.
Whoever is, he's wonderful. But this is you call it a Western. It's not really a Western, but it's a modern age Western. Chris Pine and Ben Foster are two brothers, and they are out robbing banks to save the family ranch. So it's not a groundbreaking story, but Jeff Bridges and Gil Birmingham are the two policemen who are trying to stop them. And as I said, it's a very simple story, but it's just so well done, so well written. Every scene, something unexpected happens. One of the people in line at the bank, it takes place in Texas. One of the people in line has a gun on them. It's like, yeah, of course they would. They would try to stop the bank robbery. So the dialogue is super sharp. The action is interesting. The characters are wonderful, and it's got that something beneath it that the banks are crooked and are going to screw you over. It's about the healthcare system and how it has bankrupted their family. The oil and gas industry has just decimated this whole part of town. And it's the idea of the West used to be wide open spaces, manifest destiny. We're going west and finding our fortune. And it's the same. And it's we have, like I said, Jeff Bridges and the guy Gil Birmingham's Native American. And it's them, these two old codgers who just bicker the whole movie. And it's a white man and a Native American. And it's like, we're all in the same boat now. You know, Westerns, it used to be, you know, that was the conflict, but we all have the same enemies now. And it's everyone above us who has way more money than we do and pulls all our strings. So what are the alternatives? So it's a fun movie, but it has, again, something to say, a little more than a typical, just a heist film.
It's awesome. I love it. Watched it several times. Everybody's great in it. It's just, what a cast.
Ben Foster is always great, but Chris Pine, this is the best he's ever
done. I have a lot more respect for him the last few years. He's done, as he's aging, he's definitely getting better. My number 6 is Mission Impossible Fallout. It was the 6th Mission Impossible movie. I love this franchise. Christopher McQuarrie directed this. He did Rogue Nation before that. Did this one. He's doing the next 2. I love the way he does. I like all those movies, but he's my favorite of the directors so far, and it's relentless. It's got everything. It's got, you know, him doing the Halo jump for real, and it's got that bathroom fight scene, and Henry Cavill's great in it and has the whole cast back. Rebecca Ferguson is awesome. I love that they've kept her and not just had her in for one movie. It's fantastic. I love the Mission Impossible movies, and this is the best one to me. All right, we are down to our top 5. And we're starting with Jordan. I knew this was the one of the 2 I was sure was going to be on your list.
Really? Another horror film. Get Out from 2017.
So you guys coming up from the city?
Yeah, we're just heading up for the weekend.
Can I see your license, please?
He wasn't driving.
I didn't ask who was driving. I asked to see his ID.
Call me Dean and you're hungry, my man. So how long has this been going on, this thing? We hired Georgina and Walter to help care for my parents. When they died, I couldn't bear to let them go.
Do you smoke in front of my daughter?
I'm gonna quit.
She'd take care of that for you.
How?
Hypnosis.
I'm good, actually.
Are you ready for this?
How bad can it be?
So look, I go do my research. Apparently, a whole bunch of brothers been missing in this suburb. But it's cool. Bro, how you not scared of this, man?
Writer-director Jordan Peele. Another one I didn't see immediately when it came out. I'm not always the fastest to get to these movies.
It's frustrating.
I had heard all... what did I tell you? I still have $6 on the gift certificate I got last Christmas to the movie theater. So...
It was a $10.
I'd heard all the hype. I'd heard about how amazing it was. I'd heard it's a game changer. It's a new monument to filmmaking. But I hadn't really been spoiled any twists and turns. And it still lived up to the hype. I still just was so blown away by this movie. Especially knowing Jordan Peele as the comedian, Key and Peele. You know, he's the goofy guy, you know, but he wrote some really cutting stuff about society. And especially, you know, the black experience in modern day America. And not everyone wants to, you know, they don't go to the movies to be preached to. And it's still just a thrilling, it's not really horror. It's more, you know, psychological. And there's some twists that even might be into the sci-fi realm. But, so yeah, it's not just, oh, white people are bad, that kind of thing. But it just kind of puts you in the shoes of someone different than myself. And that's what I go to the movies for. I want to see other lived experiences. And I will never forget, it's toward the end, so I won't be super specific, but hearing a police siren. And in a horror movie, when police show up, that's usually a good thing. But I had spent 2 hours in this movie and by that point, I understood their point of view so well. It's like, oh no.
Right.
And I heard a police siren and felt dread for the character. And at that moment, like, wow, what a movie. This movie did something to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's incredible. We had a black president for a couple terms, and then everybody started pretending that racism was solved.
Boy, that seemed like forever ago.
He did stir up some stuff.
But it
was
like,
all fine until he started talking about it.
But it's like, oh, yeah, black president, so everything's right. Nobody's racist anymore, except everybody has to stop pretending that. And this movie, like, painted that picture perfectly.
But it's not just about evil racists. It's about the lovely liberals who don't understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're trying to help and be positive, and but they don't get it either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, you have to live through this experience to really get what's going on. And it just, I said, it's a way to walk a mile in someone else's shoes in a very sci-fi, horror-y sort of.
Oh yeah, just the subtle way that they make, like Bradley Whitford, all the comments he makes, and the microaggressions that are constantly thrown at this character.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya. Star-making performance. Allison Williams from Girls, Bradley Whitford and Catherine Keener as the parents. Great cast.
It's awesome. My number 5 is from Chan-wook Park, or Park Chan-wook. It depends what country you're in, how you say his name, I guess. But it is The Handmaiden.
I thought this one a bunch of it.
It's so good. So good. If you can read subtitles, oh my gosh, that scares a lot of people off. But it is a beautiful movie, and it is thrilling. I love it. It tells quite a bit of the story, and then it goes back and tells it from a different perspective. It has twists and turns. It's got everything. I love it. It's dark. It's weird. It's not afraid to be strange, but it's graphic. I don't know. I love it. It's on. I keep telling people to watch it, but if you have Amazon Prime, it's always going to be there. It's one of their movies. It's all on Prime. Just watch it. Get the kids out of the room, but it's great. So yeah, I bet it is on a lot of lists. It's in my top 100. Okay, so Cliff, what is your number 5?
My number 5.
In what way is it related to Disney?
Well, it was a pretty big Disney hit.
Everything on your list.
Yeah,
is
everything.
Disney.
This was Disney's take on the Snow Queen, 2013 Frozen.
In Arendelle's fair kingdom, a ruler did appear. Born with a secret power so great, alone she stayed in fear.
Get it together. Control it.
Although the force was hidden, one day she let it go.
Elsa.
Sorcery. And all the land was covered in eternal ice and snow.
It's completely frozen.
Please, just stay away. Elsa!
I'll bring her back and I'll make this right.
So you're not scared?
She's my sister. She would never hurt me.
Yeah, I bet she's the nicest person ever. Huh? Am I right? Hi.
You're creepy.
Whoa.
I don't want it.
Whoa, back at you.
Ew, the body.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olaf.
Did Elsa build you?
Yeah, why?
This movie just doesn't go away.
I would agree. That was exactly my review.
Yeah, like I feel like it's always gonna be there, just a little
like
out
the
of
Babadook.
sight. Yeah,
my niece is just this Christmas. We're talking about movies or Disney or something, and one of them said, "Oh, you've seen Frozen?" I said, "No, I've never seen it." The look she gave me,
like
just jaw dropped, eyes like, what are you, like she couldn't fathom someone hadn't seen Frozen. I broke her heart.
Yeah,
this kind of like when you said you didn't see The Handmaiden, I'm kind of upset.
but when Frozen came out, it was like my daughter's world, and all of her friends, like they all had the soundtrack. They did nothing but listen to it, sing along with it,
and we're like,
and watch the movie. Yeah. This was directed by Jennifer Lee and Chris Buck. Jennifer Lee wrote it. I mean, honestly, when it comes to movies, it's a good movie. It's surprisingly good.
I watched it last year when we were going to do our animation list. I felt like, okay, I got to finally watch this. And it didn't make my list. But it wasn't terrible. It was fine. But it didn't blow me away at all.
Well, the big thing when this movie came out was our princess, if you will, queen, whatever you want to say, this was the first one. They didn't need the prince, the man, to come in and save them. They saved themselves. So, and it's funny because, my daughter's quite a bit older now, and 2 weeks ago, we're in Walt Disney World, sitting at Hollywood Studios, at the Frozen sing-along show, and we're all enjoying it so much, and we're, she's still singing along, my wife's singing along to these same songs we've heard 1,000 times, and it doesn't really, I want to say it gets old, but in a way, it kind of doesn't get old. Like, it's such an experience.
It's turned into, it's just going to be a Disney classic. This is going to be one that they'll just watch over and over. As much time has passed, it's not lost any steam.
No.
It's everywhere all the time.
Right. In fact, I have a Facebook.
I feel like if I didn't know you, it would not be, as everywhere for me.
Well, I have your fault. Yeah, it is my fault. I won't let it die. I have a Facebook friend that a woman that we went to high school together with. She has lived in Florida now for some time, and she's a little older than I am, but she has 2 little girls now, and I see it every day on Facebook in her story. They're dressed up in Anna and Elsa dresses. They're singing it, and they've been doing this for a couple years now. Like I see that it's their world now. They love it so much, and I get it. So yeah, I couldn't ignore it. When I think of movies this decade that really had a profound effect on our family life, for the longest time, Frozen is there more than probably anything.
Let's see. Number 4 starts with me. Just watched this the other day for like the 20 millionth time because my son had never seen it. And he was looking at my top 100 list. He's like, hey, found one I haven't seen. And it's on Prime now. Nightcrawler by Dan Gilroy. Directed. And this is Jake Gyllenhaal's absolutely his best performance he ever gave. He should have won Best Actor for it. He is plays a very strange character, very isolated guy who is determined to make something of himself by himself, and just throw himself into a new career, whatever it might be. Tries to get hired by anybody, and finally discovers that there's such a thing as going out at night and finding where the big wreck is or whatever in LA, and capturing footage of gruesome events happening on the highways or crimes happening and selling it to news stations. And he's just such a quirky character that I almost wonder if they're trying to imply that he has some sort of social problem where he doesn't have a filter, doesn't know when to take a step back, but he just gets in there and gets this footage and just tries to make something of himself, but he doesn't know when to stop, and he gets deeper and deeper into it until just a exhilarating conclusion. Like it is so good, and everybody's great in it. Him, Rene Russo. Oh, I can't think of that one guy's name. Riz Ahmed, Bill Paxton, the late Bill Paxton is in it. He's great. It's awesome. It is a top 20 all-time movie for me, somewhere in that vicinity. It's so good.
Again, that's one I didn't see till much later.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if the trailers. I didn't see anything in the advertising that made me think it was what it was.
Right.
Like, it was much better than I thought it was going to be. And again, I don't know if that was just me not knowing what it was, or it was kind of advertised more of an action-y kind of movie, or more of a thriller kind of thing. But it was excellent.
He's amazing in it. If you have anyone to see an actor perform at the height of what they can do, this is the best he's ever done. Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay, let's see. Cliff, your number 4.
Okay. My number 4 is, stay on theme, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So
heard of it.
2015, J.J. Abrams.
I believe you're quoted recently as saying it's not as Star Warsy as Rogue One.
I would agree with that.
You with yourself?
But it's ahead of Rogue One on your list.
Yeah.
He doesn't like Star Wars.
No, this was original trilogy. OT. This is new T. ST. Yeah, I still like it. Force Awakens, we were so excited when Han and Chewie were coming back. That trailer dropped, and Luke and Leia and everybody. And I liked the sequel trilogy, so it's going to be on my list because it was a huge hit and it ushered in a whole new era of Star Wars. The end.
The end. That's not the end. Jordan, your number 4 chronologically was my number 7, I think.
Oh, okay. This could be my number 1. It could be anywhere on my list. I think about this movie all the time. I was just thinking about it when Cliff was talking earlier about Frozen.
About Disney?
Yeah.
Disney?
From 2017, The Florida Project.
The man who lives in here gets arrested a lot. These are the rooms we're not supposed to go in. But let's go anyway. Could you give us some change, please? The doctor said we have asthma and we gotta eat ice cream right away.
Here you go.
Hey, Lee, got a situation here. Open up. It's only second week of the summer and there's already been a dead fish in the pool.
We're trying to get it back alive.
Water balloons thrown at tourists.
Movies! Movies!
I failed as a mother, Mooney.
Yeah, Mom, you're a disgrace.
Mm-hmm. This was your top movie?
Yeah, that
2017.
year. Yeah, it was my number 1.
Yeah. A very small movie. Director Sean Baker did Tangerine.
Yep.
He's done something since then, but
I don't know.
Just very small scale. Willem Dafoe is the only real actor in it. The other folks are people he kind of discovered. Brooklyn Prince
is the breakout
as Mooney, the young girl. So it's beautiful. It's this, but it's also sad. It's this little community of folks in the shadow of Walt Disney World. And I don't know, do they ever say the word Disney? I don't think
so.
Well, at the end, they're in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, but they never blatantly.
So their entire lives are lived in the shadow of the happiest place on earth.
No,
it's
the most magical
place on earth. And that's the American dream. That's the fantasy. But it's right there. We can all see it. We can smell it, but we can't get there. And it's these people who are they're living in motels. They have to move once a month from room to room, so they're not permanent residents. They sell stuff on the side of the street. They work these part-time jobs with no security. It gets a little more, she has to do some things, some worse things than that to survive. But the kids live this idyllic existence.
They don't know any different.
Yeah. And it's that.
Every day's an adventure.
It captured that, at least when we were kids, we were completely unsupervised. And that those
just like this.
Summer days of just running around, just doing stuff.
Yep.
Inventing games and just doing whatever, spitting on cars or whatever. Whatever those kids did.
It definitely gives you that feeling. It's just like what we all were doing as kids. It didn't matter that they're super poor. They're still finding a way to have fun because they don't know any different.
and the parents do their best to, even if, you can say she's not a good parent, but she did everything she could to shield her kid from having to worry about that stuff. And she tried to give her the best life she could, and, just failing at it. But I think about this movie all the time.
Yeah. And like you said, Willem Dafoe is amazing in it, and he, it's just one of those, it takes a village type vibes. Like, this guy is just doing his best to run this property, and he kind of out of the side of his eye is watching out for the people who live there until he just can only do so much, and he's great. Like, it's just one of those where it's just like everything works for that movie, and it has a heartbreaking ending, and I love it. I love it when all the pieces are great and they pull it off. So,
and yeah, just every commercial I see, you come to the Bahamas, it's paradise on earth. It's like, yeah, what you're showing me is paradise, but there's always something off to the side. There's people who have to work as the janitors and the concessionaires, and those people have no job security. They're living off the crumbs of the rest of
right, and they're right there. They're just so close they can see it, but they can't taste it. And it's beautifully rendered by them, those kids playing and seeing a rainbow, and they're like, "Let's go run to the end of that rainbow." And they take off. You're like, you can't get there. It's right there.
It's a heartbreaking movie, but it's not depressing.
Oh no,
it's kind of uplifting, but also soul crushing. It's a great mix of whatever.
Just what I want.
Yeah. That's my sweet spot.
Yeah, it's great. We'll have to make out our new tagline. We're soul crushing. All right, we're up to our top 3 for each of us. Cliff, you get to start us off.
Okay, number 3 is a number 3. Toy Story 3.
Andy's going to college. Can you believe it? What are you going to do with these old toys?
Okay, calm down, guys. Let's just keep this in perspective. Where's she taking us?
I should have seen this coming.
We'll be fine, Jesse.
Oh, I hate all this uncertainty. New toys!
Buzz Lightyear, at your service. Welcome to Sunnyside, folks. You'll find being donated was the best thing that ever happened to you.
May I? Ooh!
Yeah. Another Pixar animation movie. This
from our friends at the end of the rainbow.
That's right.
Great.
This movie may be...
Is this the best one?
This may be... When it comes to trilogies, if I think of the only trilogy that the best movie is the last one.
It's not a trilogy, but okay.
Well, it was when this was made.
They all were.
Yeah, that's true. Every franchise is a trilogy until you make the fourth one.
It wasn't the time.
Then it's no longer a trilogy. I get you.
But yeah, I think this was, perhaps the most fitting, the best ending for this story.
Now I can't even listen to this because I'm trying to find what's better. I like The Last Crusade the best of it in that trilogy.
Do you?
Yes.
Huh. I mean, I like The Last.
Only the Predator Marvel. Anyway,
Toy Story 3. This was the third movie after 95. Toy Story 99. Toy Story 2. This is Andy grows up and is going off to college, and the toys have been stuck up in the attic. Nobody's playing with them, and this is their story. How it ends, their adventures with Andy, and always trying to make it back to him, to be there for him. This was the first, deviation from that. So, and in the end, it'll tug at those heartstrings on that last scene or so. So
it's great. I love it. I think it's the best one.
And couple great scenes in that when they're in the garbage dump, headed to the
should have ended it right there.
The big flame, and they're all holding hands. Because this is the end. I know it made Michael cry, And then at the very end, when we meet Bonnie and we have a new start, a new lot in life to start over again. So
yeah. We're very protective of this movie and didn't want them to do a fourth because it couldn't. It was like it could mess it up, and then it turns out there is more you can do. But still, I don't think it doesn't exceed what this movie did.
Toy Story 4 almost felt like, in the same way you have the original trilogy, the prequels, and the sequels, this one felt like a start of a new thing.
Felt more like a epilogue.
It did feel like an epilogue. A little bit, yeah. Yeah, so I definitely take Toy Story 4 and kind of set it aside from the other three. It's just it feels like a different thing is what I'm trying to say.
Still good. Jordan, your number 3 is a movie I drove to Athens to watch last year, and I watched 20 minutes of it and the power went out. And I was very upset about that. And then but I did rent it as soon as it came out, and it's great, so tell us all about it.
Oh, I just watched it on Netflix. So
yeah, it's on Netflix, so everybody should watch it.
There's something to be said for my way of doing things too. I don't know. Again, a month from now, a year from now, I don't know if this is still on my list, but I'm still, again, it's something I still think about. This movie is still with me. Burning from 2018, South Korea.
저한텐 세상이 수수께끼 같아요.
나 모르겠어? 우리 어릴 때 같은 동네 살았잖아.
The director was Lee Chang-dong, and it was based on a story by the author Haruki Murakami, who's a Japanese author, kind of a postmodern. All the hip kids love Murakami books because he writes it's a kind of postmodern, trippy story. Yeah. So it adapts his story into the movie. Probably got more Americanized because of Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead was in it.
This is the movie he was making while he was was he under the dumpster? In the dumpster?
Yes, he was under the dumpster. And it was worth it. I take everything I said back. So the plot's very simple. A young guy kind of on the lower rungs of society meets a girl. The girl disappears. Steven Yeun is a wealthy guy on the higher end of society, and he starts suspecting he may have had something to do with it. And the movie just kind of goes. It's a slow burn. You don't quite know what's going on. Even by the end, you're not 100% sure what really happened. But it's just that.
People, when you say that, I'm just like, you and I are both like, yes! And everybody else is like, that sounds terrible.
All of my movies could have a caveat to them. This may not be for you.
Right.
But yeah, it's if you don't need the mystery explained and you're okay, because that's why it's still with me. I'm still thinking about it.
Right.
Of like, oh, did I catch every detail with it? And again, I've only seen it once, so the more I think about it, I want to watch it again and pick more things up. But it's just there's so much little subtle detail, and I love the class disputes and the class differences.
I'm telling you, this decade there's a theme, and it was this year. How's that? This year was Eat the Rich. And this is another one of those.
Yeah, putting my list together, I found a theme. All my favorite movies are about poor people. So,
yeah, all your favorite sitcoms too.
Yeah, me and Carly.
That's right.
My number 3 was Cliff's number 8 and is Jordan's number 1. And I think that's a good place to talk about it at number 1. So
it was on all 3 of our lists.
Yes. So I think we'll end with it.
You can probably guess what it is then, listeners.
Right. Now, let's go to our number 2s, and I'll start with you, Jordan.
Again, this is a take it or leave it for a lot of people, but I was on the exact right wavelength for this movie. Another Netflix original, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs from 2018, written and directed by the Coen brothers. It's just 6 short films, westerns. And it's just, it runs the gamut. There's weird slapstick comedy, there's drama, there's horror. It's all the things the Coens do the best. But it's their whole range that they have from, really intricate wordy dialogue to then there's a bit where there's almost no words spoken. So it runs their whole career as far as genre and style. And I don't know, at the end of it, I said I just leaned back in my chair. It just was like, I let it just wash over me. I was like, that just happened. That was incredible. And I'm a huge Western fan anyway, so having that sort of poke at the Western mythology of all those different, from the singing cowboy to the more horror side of things, just everything the Western is able to do, they tried to do it. And again, it didn't have a lot of answers. They're very short little vignettes, so you maybe didn't get the payoff for all of them that you wanted. But yeah, I was tuned right in.
I think this is going to have legs. Like, I think you'll be able to go back and watch this and, every couple years, because, you can't remember every single detail of all the different stories. Like I said, I still like the longer one that does have an ending and things. But
great cast as well. Tim Blake Nelson, Liam Neeson, James Franco, Zoe Kazan, Tom Waits.
Mirror Guy?
Mr. Pocket. Oh, my
Mr.
voice
Noodle.
maybe. I might sound like Tom Waits a little bit.
Mr.
My rough
Noodle.
voice. Mr. Pocket.
My number 2 is from 2012, maybe 2011 overseas. This is the best action movie of all time to me, and sets up every action movie you've seen this decade. John Wick is the first thing I think of. A lot of influence from this movie that you've probably never seen is in every movie you've seen since, where there's slick action happening. It's The Raid, Redemption. Just about it's an Indonesian action movie where some 20 elite cops have to enter this drug lord's building and make it to the top to stop him. And it's very simple, but it's just the most wonderful action. I just love this movie. I've seen it a bazillion times, and it's great. I highly recommend it. I mean, sometimes I think like I need to not keep going on about it because I'm gonna lose all credibility in my life. It was just like, I know there's other people out there that say it too, so I know I'm not crazy.
Well, at the start of the previous decade, action sort of became The Matrix and Crouching Tiger. It became wires and crazy physics.
Bullet time.
Yeah, so it was people doing wild things, and everything was super choreographed kung fu. And I definitely prefer the more grounded Jason Bourne style, of, where everything's close up impacts that seems brutal, and this definitely is.
Yeah, some of it's so gritty, and the camera work is amazing. Like going through walls and down through the next floor, and just all the fights are awesomely choreographed. It's great. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, you probably never will, because you've already heard me bring it up a million times, and you just aren't going to listen.
One more time. One more.
Stubborn.
Just keep doing it.
Ridiculously stubborn. Problem is, like I say, you still can't watch with the right soundtrack and things like that, and a lot of times they put on the dub. It's like, just listen to them, speak.
Don't put up barriers.
No, you got to watch it the best way. I want you to have the ultimate experience.
Get a big tub of popcorn, crunch away.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Watch it however you want.
Drown in butter. All right, Cliff, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was our number 1 superhero movie of all time.
At one time. It certainly was.
Still is. Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014. This was an unlikely hit. Everybody went, why in the world would Marvel make Guardians of the Galaxy? Turns out this is like my favorite Marvel franchise. So,
great.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's seen it at this point. It was
a great matchup of director and actors, and with using the soundtrack idea, having all that fun music, and getting all the rights to all those songs,
and probably kicked off whatever the next step Marvel was of let's take some chances, let's do something a little different. This being a success really opened doors for what came later, I'm sure.
Yeah, after this movie came, I think more and more people felt like Marvel can do no wrong at this point.
Yep. It's great. We do all love it and agree that is a great pick. All right. Our number ones. I'm first. My number one is another movie from Damien Chazelle. 2014's Whiplash.
This place is nice. I really like the music that they play. Bob Ellis on the drums. I'm part of Schaefer's Top Jazz Orchestra. It's the best music school in the country.
The key is to just relax. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about what the other guys are thinking. You're here for a reason. Have fun. 5, 6, and.
I want to be great.
And you're not.
We got Buddy Rich here. Little trouble there. You're rushing. Here we go. 5, 6, and. Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will gut you like a pig.
Oh, my dear God. Are you one of those single-tier people?
You are a worthless pansy ass who is now weeping and slobbering all over my drum set like a 9-year-old girl.
I love this movie. And because from beginning to end, it is great. And it has a fantastic ending that can be interpreted a lot of different ways. What it means, but what the actual message is. But it's just great. It's an amazing soundtrack. It's about a jazz drummer who is trying to become better. He's very focused, but he has his teacher, played by J.K. Simmons, who won awards for this role. It's very brutal in his teaching technique. He just never accepts your best. You can do better, and he's great in it. Miles Teller plays the main character, and it's just amazing. I love the music, and I love the story. It's awesome. And did I say Damien Chazelle? It's great. You guys have all seen this? No, Cliff probably hasn't seen it. I can't imagine he has. No way.
I feel like I've seen part of it.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I played drums in high school, so I thought it would be up my alley, and I thought it was terrific as well. But great showcase for what J.K. Simmons can do, and led to a very awkward conversation. My high school band director came in the store one time. I hadn't seen him since high school. This was just a year or so ago. He's like, "Oh, I was in the area. I wanted to stop in and say hello." I was like, "I have nothing to talk to you about." I was like, "Oh, I thought about you the other day. I just seen that movie Whiplash." I was like, "Why did I say that?"
Thought about
he was a very friendly man.
It reminded me how horrible, brutal you were. Always on me about my tempo.
That I never had a percussion instructor that was they were all like laid back. Just wanted to hit on the flag instructors. There was no one that really gave that much of a crap about
it. Cliff, what's your number one?
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Heard of it.
Whoa.
When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that, something truly special.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
I was gonna say, I was like, you listed all these other, and I was like, I thought maybe Last Jedi had kind of gone down your list, but it went up.
No, it's in fact, it's one of those movies. I keep saying this, but the more times I watch it, the more I like it, and I've really found that to be true.
You're such a rebel.
These rebel scum. This movie
you set him up on purpose.
Unfortunately, gets a huge, bad rap. Some toxic sex of fan bases out there.
Sorry, you screwed it up though. I want to make sure you know that. You're supposed to just call him scum, and he says rebel scum.
But yeah, it's gotten a lot of hate since it came out, and how they ruined Star Wars and broke Star Wars and ruined whatever. Listen to our review again if you haven't listened to it lately.
It's great. We love it. Last Jedi is an awesome movie.
Just a great movie. I love the visuals. I love the story. It took a chance. Rian Johnson took a chance on doing something different, and it was wonderful.
So how did the third one impact your feelings? Did you like it more? Did it take anything away from it?
I don't think it took anything away from it for me. I mean, there were, like we said, there were clearly things that felt like a big, finger to The Last Jedi at times, but intentional or not, whatever. If you want to blame somebody, blame, the head of Lucasfilm or
blame whoever let them have
who's in the story group or whoever
this fighting story against the next story.
That's right.
But other than that, still great. I like this whole trilogy.
Yep.
So I'm happy.
But yeah, much like Empire was the pinnacle for a lot of people of the original trilogy, that middle chapter where things got more serious.
That's very true.
It took a turn. It got darker. The everything the stakes got higher. It did the same thing in this one. To me, there's a clear pinnacle between the three movies.
George's number one chronologically. He cheated. He's trying to cheat and put two movies in there.
It's one movie.
I'm just gonna say the second one, but it was on my list. It was on Cliff's list also.
Yep. Where was it with you, Cliff?
8. Number 8.
8. It was number 3 for me, and it is Avengers Endgame and Infinity War.
Yeah.
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man. Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
The world has changed. None of us can go back. All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
I saw all these people die. I keep telling everybody they should move on. Some do. But not us.
Even if there's a small chance, we owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
There's nothing more to say about these movies. We will, but
it defines the decade. I mean, I know it started a few years before that, but this is a good representation of this decade. We talked about Avengers earlier, being in 2012 at the beginning of the decade, and now culminating 7 years later, we got the big finish to that.
Yeah, Iron Man was 2008.
Yep.
The 2010s belong to the Marvel franchise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were all just behemoths, fan favorites, critical darlings, made superstars out of everyone. There's no reason any of it should have worked. It's the stuff we dreamed of as a kid seeing, and it exists. It's real life. We're all here to see it, and I still can't believe it.
Yeah, and even transformed into a more adult story than we were seeing when we were kids. It's like all these characters dealt with all this grief and everything in this last movie, and we just, it took its time. It was amazing.
That's my only
bawled my eyes out.
That's my only criticism of the movie is that beginning feels just they've got a lot of stuff to cover. I get that. But it just feels a little slow at times because I think I was anticipating getting to the action stuff
gotta
so
have
much.
the setup.
So that's why it was kind of, number 8 for me, right above Avengers, kind of bookending there the decade. And that's just why it was a little...
Yeah, I can read reviews of this. I can listen to criticism. I can hear everything you're saying and even agree with it. Of things that don't work, things that don't make sense, things they should have done better. But we've talked about the degree of difficulty before.
Yeah.
That even getting this to work from 3 separate movies, 3 different directors, writers, screenwriters,
and pleasing us
to form that into something
with countless actors.
And because as comic book fans, we would take anything. We were desperate for it. We watched Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher. We watched Howard the Duck. Anything with a comic book pedigree, we wanted it. And for them to please us, for them to please billions of dollars worth of ticket sales, it's latched onto something in the culture that's beyond us, and that's okay. We can let it all go to the rest of the world too. I said I don't have enough distance from it. It still boggles my mind how this happened. But it's been more than 10 years of just hit after hit after hit.
Yeah. Well, we did it.
How about that?
Those were our fave movies of the decade. Got any honorable mentions?
I had a few. I had a hard time. I had all mine were honorable mentions till I finally added them to the list. So I'm it's so hard for me to say this is my top 10.
Yeah.
So I probably, there's a bunch more I could have done.
Yeah, I dropped a couple. I had written a few down and I was like, well, I'll sort through them. I think I had Captain America: Civil War on there. I think I had Captain America: Winter Soldier that almost made the list.
Oh, could easily have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that, again, I don't know if they make a top 10, and they didn't, but just so close. I didn't have a single Tarantino movie from this decade in that top 10, but man, Django could have been on there. Freaking, Hateful Eight. I love that. A Ghost Story. I love Safety Not Guaranteed. Inside Llewyn Davis, my favorite Coen Brothers movie. Blue Ruin or Green Room. Both of those Jeremy Saulnier movies are fantastic. Drive. Gravity. The most, proof that all this CGI and everything can produce an incredible movie. It's the only movie I've ever seen in 3D that needed to be seen in 3D. Just amazing movies that we've had.
Yeah, on the Disney side, I had Tangled, and Moana was also on there. Moana almost made it over Frozen, but Frozen was just such a cultural thing that happened. So
yeah, I did kind of a top 15 and then kind of shuffled them all around. So just missing out the 5 that just missed out. Winter's Bone from 2010. More poor oppressed people. Jennifer Lawrence made her a star.
I watched that again recently.
Great crime movie. Django Unchained. Lady Bird, I thought was just such a unique voice. Saoirse Ronan was terrific, and Greta Gerwig, just the screenplay was
I just watched Little Women.
8th Grade was a great experience watching.
Amazing.
Sorry to Bother You. Again, I don't know how much I loved it, but it did something to. I still think about that movie, and Lakeith Stanfield did a wonderful as the lead to that. I just wrote down a few more. Anomalisa, the animated puppetry movie. Baby Driver was my number one movie of that year, but it's kind of slipped out. I haven't really watched it since. Catfish, the documentary.
Yeah. Back before the show,
Before
it was great. Yeah.
That
the first one was crazy.
That documentary is insane if you don't know what you're watching.
Right.
Wow.
Now it's so diluted.
Yeah. Game Night was just such an out of nowhere comedy. Like, it just looked like a dumb comedy, but it was. But it was also just great.
You've seen that. You like that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That seems like a movie you would be into.
Grand Budapest Hotel from Wes Anderson.
Oh yeah, I almost had to. I tried to buy. They don't make a vinyl of that soundtrack, Jordan.
No.
I was upset about that this morning.
Just this morning?
Yes.
This
Nick
morning.
and I were talking about it before we went to work. He's like, "Yeah, that's a great movie." I'm like, "Well, you can't get it on vinyl."
Isle of Dogs, also from Wes Anderson. Fun little animated movie. I, Tonya, I thought was terrific.
Good stuff.
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. What We Do in the Shadows. I just said every Marvel movie. They're all just great. Yeah. I love them all. I can't decide. Wonder Woman from the DC side was terrific. And does anyone have an opinion about Mad Max Fury Road? It's on everyone's best.
I know.
List.
I've made it,
and it's good. It's fine. I like it.
Exactly. I feel like we're on the same page. Like, I liked it fine, but I think it's my fault, and I need to watch it again. I need to sit down and watch it again, because it might be one of those things where a lot of movies I like better after I don't have any expectations. I think I just need to go into it knowing what I'm getting.
I don't know what all these critics saw. Like,
they love it.
Wonderful action movie, but there's lots of action movies every year that critics just ignore.
I don't know that I've ever watched anything with Tom Hardy in it where I've liked Tom Hardy.
It's just like there's hardly any dialogue. It's just one big chase scene. Now, I know there is supposed to... A lot of people get out of it when she, her scream at the end and stuff, and what she's realizing, that kind of stuff. I need to just see it again.
But yeah, the year it came out, nominated for an Oscar, I was shocked. Best of lists, and then here we are all these years later, it's still AV Club. It was their top movie.
Yeah.
A dozen of these I looked at, it's on everyone's top of the decades list. Yeah. And I don't dislike it, but I can't. I
would never give it a second thought if I haven't seen all those people say that. So yeah, I plan to watch it again sometime this year, this decade anyway. The only other one I didn't mention that I should have is Interstellar. It almost made my top 10 there, because it's a top 20 movie all time for me, and I just think it's really great. My favorite Nolan movie. And Inception's great. We should read. I think your brother let us know what he.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who commented.
We'll just focus on him.
Thanks to the one amazing listener who commented.
No, but he agreed with Boy. He liked The Witch. That's a great horror movie. Last Jedi. All of Marvel, of course. And Moana, Cliff. He liked Moana.
Mm-hmm.
Inception. And he agrees with us that Taylor Sheridan's great. He liked Wind River. That's a great movie.
But it's a hard thing to do, to just, hey, off the top of your head, what are the best movies of the decade?
Oh yeah,
like it's not an easy list.
That's
to come
why
up
I asked
with,
you to do it,
right?
Because I'm a jerk. All right, let's wrap it up.
Hey, thank you for listening. Good kickoff to the decade, I think. Here,
the new decade. We put the old decade behind us.
How long have we been doing this? We've been doing this for like
2014,
half a decade.
Yeah, pretty close. We're getting there.
Yeah, so you can go back and listen to all of our archives, nearly 200 episodes.
Almost. We're
getting close to that.
Yeah, very, very close.
We've covered a lot of these movies in depth on those older episodes.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like,
so we don't have a lot. You shouldn't be surprised what we
right. We don't have a lot to say about some of these today, because we've talked about them so much on the past. You don't want to listen to us
except for the rage. You'll never hear Seth mention it again.
Yeah, never.
All right, so you can find all those archives and more at www.udownwithkpp.com. Interact with us on Facebook,
Twitter, at the Ka-Pow Podcast.
Has anyone looked at the Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Still there.
It's there.
Good. Twitter still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, Twitter is there.
We need to hear your tweets, people. We need your tweets.
Podbean, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast.
This is my least favorite part of the show.
All that stuff.
They're here. They're already here.
Wait till we start begging for patron dollars.
That's next.
They are already here. They found us.
If you'd like to sign up and be a patron, it only costs you $1 a month. You can do that on our website or on the Podbean app. Just click that patron button.
Fun bonus material that we do not release to the masses.
That's
we do
true.
some fun little special episodes. We do some anecdotes. We do off the cuff, just behind the scenes audio, and we have a secret Facebook page just for patron members where we listen to.
We do secret things.
Yes, secret things.
I was going to describe what it is, but I can't. I'm held to secrecy.
We all wear masks.
Okay, thank you very much. Happy 2020. My name is Jordan Float.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Bye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com.